They say silence is golden, but in today's world, silence might be the only thing standing between you and danger. Let me ask you something. Have you ever shared something online? Something that felt harmless, maybe even joyful, only to wonder later who might have seen it? What if that moment of sharing, that quick caption or proud photo, quietly opened the door to the wrong kind of attention? Because the truth is, there are secrets that protect you, and then there are secrets that, once exposed, can destroy you. Not because you were reckless, not because you had bad intentions, but because you trusted the wrong person at the wrong time. And often you didn't even realize you were taking a risk. Here's the reality no one wants to admit. The most dangerous information in your life isn't what people hide from you. It's what you reveal, casually, impulsively, publicly, without understanding the cost. One careless word, one overconfident post, one moment of vulnerability mistaken for connection. That's all it takes. History is full of lives unraveled by a single misplaced phrase. Careers, families, even entire futures crumbled because someone trusted too soon, spoke too freely, or underestimated their audience. And now, we live in an age where surveillance isn't just the job of governments or corporations. Everyone is watching, online, offline, all the time. From the minute you wake up and check your phone, to the time you post that dinner photo, to the story you share about your latest success, the world is listening, looking, calculating. What you think of as a harmless detail, someone else might see as an opportunity. And the scariest part, we often don't even know when we've marked ourselves, because danger doesn't always announce itself. It doesn't wear a mask. Sometimes it wears a smile. This video is about keeping you safe. It will expose 5 powerful secrets, not the obvious ones, not the dramatic ones, but the ones that slide under your radar. These are the things that seem small, until they cost you something big. If you care about your safety, your freedom, even your peace of mind, don't skip this. Every second of what you're about to hear could be the reason you avoid a crisis in the future. So stay locked in. And hey, if you're serious about protecting yourself and the people you love, hit that subscribe button. This channel is here to keep you aware, grounded, and smart. Stay sharp, stay safe. Let's begin. Secret number 1. Do not share your personal financial information. Sounds simple, right? But let's dig into what that really means. Picture this. Someone posts a picture of themselves, smiling ear to ear, holding their new house keys in front of a freshly painted front door. Caption reads, "Finally a homeowner." Seems innocent enough. We've all been trained to celebrate milestones. Society tells us to share our wins. Social media rewards us for doing it. Likes, comments, emojis of champagne bottles and heart eyes. But here's the part no one talks about. That one post, it just revealed a lot more than joy. It told the world where you live. It suggested your financial status. And it broadcasted that you've just acquired something valuable. Maybe something worth taking. You didn't just share a life event. You handed over a map to your vulnerability. Let me tell you a story. My friend Rachel, early 30s, single, hard-working. She saved for years to buy her first home. When she got the keys, she was proud. She deserved to be. So she posted a few celebratory photos, keys in hand, the welcome mat, a cozy front porch, a glimpse of the street number barely visible. No big deal, right? 2 months later, she experienced not 1, but 2 attempted break-ins. 1 while she was out of town, 1 while she was at work. She didn't live in a high-crime area, she wasn't flashy. But that post, that moment of pride, had unintentionally painted a target on her. And that's the thing about financial information. It's not just what you say, it's what you signal. Maybe it's a humble brag about your new car, or casually mentioning that raise you just got. Even saying, "I'm finally debt-free" in a conversation with a stranger. These are breadcrumbs, and when the wrong person follows them, they lead straight to you. We believe we're just sharing life, but more often than not, we're advertising opportunities, not to friends, but to opportunists. So ask yourself, the next time you post a win, who's really watching? Because the people who mean you harm, they don't need to dig. You already gave them the shovel. We ended the last section with a truth that stings. Every detail you share might be a breadcrumb, not for your loved ones, but for those looking to take advantage of you. And here's the continuation of that truth, one that's even more unsettling. You might think you're just sharing a fleeting moment, a celebration, an update, a proud achievement. But more often than not, you're broadcasting opportunity, and not to the people cheering you on. You're broadcasting to opportunists. It might make you uncomfortable, but it's important you hear this. People are always watching. Not everyone, not constantly, but enough to matter. And it's not just digital predators lurking behind screens. It's the colleague you barely talk to at work. It's that friend of a friend who saw you at the dinner party. It's the stranger who caught a glimpse of your expensive shoes or new watch and silently started putting pieces together. We imagine danger as something shadowy and distant, a figure in a dark alley. But more often, danger smiles at you, asks you how you've been, maybe even congratulates you, while quietly calculating your value. Here's something that might surprise you. Criminals don't usually target the ultra-rich. Why? Because billionaires come with complications, security systems, bodyguards, surveillance, legal teams. They're too much trouble. But you're reachable. You have just enough to make the risk worthwhile. You post vacation photos while you're still away from home. You share stories about your recent promotion. You flaunt the new tech gear or post before and after shots of your home renovation. Each of those things, no matter how innocent, is a breadcrumb, a signal, a whisper to the wrong person that says, here's someone with something worth taking. And here lies the psychological trap. We think the world is rooting for us. And yes, many people are, but not everyone. Lurking in the shadows of praise and applause are individuals who don't feel inspired by your success. They feel entitled to it. They believe they deserve what you have, and they don't care how they get it. This is where Stoicism enters. The Stoics believed in quiet strength, in inner calm, in restraint. They didn't hide their achievements out of shame. They simply knew that pride does not require a spotlight. It does not ask for applause. To the Stoic mind, peace comes not from validation but from self-mastery, from control over one's impulses, one's desires, one's actions. When you train yourself to think stoically, you begin to resist the impulse to overshare. You start asking questions before posting. Why do I feel the need to show this? Is this about connection or validation? Am I expressing something meaningful or feeding my ego? That level of awareness sharpens your judgment. You begin to see your privacy not as something fragile to be hidden, but as something sacred, to be guarded, like armor on a warrior, not for show but for survival. So what's the solution? It's simple in theory, but requires discipline in practice. Be intentional. Be deliberate. Know why you're sharing something before you share it. You don't have to lie. You don't have to live in paranoia. But you do need to be smart. When someone asks about your income, smile and deflect. Say something like, I do well enough, then move on. When you hit a big milestone, celebrate, but do it in private with people who've earned your trust. When you buy something significant, pause before posting, and maybe don't post it at all. You don't owe the world a running commentary on your achievements. The less people know about your finances, the safer you are. Not just from criminals, but from envy, manipulation, and yes, even legal complications. Treat your financial status the way you treat the PIN to your bank account. Share it with no one, unless absolutely necessary. And even then, ask yourself, why? Because in this world, survival isn't always about being stronger. Sometimes it comes down to one thing: what you choose to protect and what you choose to reveal. And that brings us to the next layer of awareness: your location, your movements, your routine. Because once something is revealed, you no longer control how it's used or who uses it. That's the reality of the digital age. Privacy is power, silence is safety, and discretion, that's your shield. Use it wisely. Secret number 2, never disclose your location or travel schedule. Let me ask you, have you ever felt that sudden jolt of fear, the kind that shoots down your spine when you realize someone knows where you are, and they absolutely shouldn't? That sensation, that's your intuition screaming, and too often we ignore it. In an era where oversharing has become second nature, most people don't even realize the dangers they've invited into their lives. Posting photos at the airport, tagging coffee shops in real time, announcing vacations before or during the trip, it's all so normal now. But here's the harsh truth. Every time you share where you are, you're giving away your most valuable asset, your presence. And in the wrong hands, that knowledge becomes a weapon. Let me tell you about Maya. She was vibrant, newly engaged, and like many, she loved sharing her life on Instagram. One weekend, her fiancé surprised her with a romantic getaway to Lake Tahoe. From the moment they hit the road, Maya began sharing excited captions, cozy cabin shots, snow-covered trees, and selfies wrapped. On the second day, she posted a photo of them snowshoeing with the caption, "No cell signal, no problem." But there was a problem. Someone from her past, a man she had cut ties with after an unsettling experience, had been silently watching her social media. He followed the entire trip in real time. He knew where she was. More importantly, he knew where she wasn't. While Maya was enveloped in snow and serenity, her apartment in Sacramento was broken into. But it wasn't just a burglary. Nothing was forced. The intruder didn't just steal. He combed through her drawers, her closet. It felt personal, because it was never about what he could take, it was about what he could access, the sense of control, the intimacy he was never given. That's what makes it chilling, and that's what most people miss. Not every threat is financial. Some are driven by obsession, control, even revenge. And when you overshare your location, you offer a roadmap straight into those twisted motives. This isn't paranoia, it's pattern recognition. A form of wisdom Stoics would call discernment. We've normalized telling the world where we are and when we'll be gone, assuming only friends are watching. But the truth is, anyone can be watching. Social media doesn't screen your followers. That guy from a party 5 years ago, the woman who used to work 2 cubicles down, the anonymous profile that just liked your last 10 posts, any of them could be observing. And studies show it's not uncommon. More than 78% of modern-day burglars admit to using social media to choose their targets. They don't need to guess if you're home. You told them. You showed them. And even beyond theft, the danger deepens when you share your routines. That 6 a.m. run, the yoga class every Wednesday, the quiet strolls at night when the city sleeps. These aren't just habits, they're patterns, predictable movements that can be used against you. So the question is, why do we feel the need to share while we're living the moment? Often it's about validation. We want to feel seen, admired. We want our lives to look full, exciting. But this very urge, the desire to be visible, is what makes us vulnerable. And here again, Stoicism offers a lifeline. The Stoics taught us to value what is within our control and to relinquish what isn't. Your safety, your whereabouts, those are within your control, but only if you choose not to give them away. Stoic living means experiencing life deeply, without the need for an audience. It means delaying gratification, protecting your peace and resisting the pull to showcase every joy the moment it arrives. Instead of asking, "Who will be impressed by this post?" try asking, "Who could misuse this information? Would I still share this if I knew a stranger with bad intentions was watching?" That kind of mindful questioning, it's more powerful than any security app. You become less predictable, less exposed, harder to manipulate. So what's the practical approach? Share your trip after you return. Post that favorite cafe after you've left. Keep your habits private, or only share them with people you trust deeply. And stop equating caution with fear. It's not fear, it's intelligence. We live in a world where even joy can turn into danger if carelessly broadcasted. But when you guard your location, you reclaim control. You turn your life from an open invitation into a sanctuary, because the most dangerous people in this world, they don't break in through locked doors. They walk right in, because you left the door open, and when your location is public, you've already left the key in the lock. Privacy is your modern-day fortress, and the strongest walls aren't built from fear, they're built from intention. And so the deeper we go, the clearer it becomes. Your patterns, your routines, your impulses to be seen, they all carry weight. They shape not just how others perceive you, but how exposed you truly are. Let's look even closer at this. That yoga class every Wednesday night, those late-night walks when the streets are hushed and the world seems asleep. What do they have in common? They form a pattern, and once a pattern is recognized, it can be predicted. If someone wants to find you, they don't need to ask. They just need to watch. So let's shift our focus to something deeper. Psychology. Why do we feel compelled to post our whereabouts while we're still there? The answer, in many cases, is validation. We crave acknowledgement. We want to feel seen, connected, relevant. We want to feel like we belong, and that our lives are being lived to the fullest. But here's the paradox. The more we try to prove we're present, the more vulnerable we become to those who are watching for the wrong reasons. That very need for connection, when unchecked, turns from a bridge into a liability. And here's where Stoic wisdom quietly but powerfully steps in. The Stoics taught us to value what we can control and let go of what we cannot. Your safety? That is something within your control, but only if you stop offering your movements, your habits, your location as public content. True Stoic living means cultivating inner richness over outer recognition. It's the art of enjoying life deeply without displaying it constantly. They practice the discipline of restraint, not to suppress but to preserve. Not everything meaningful needs to be shared in real time. Some joys grow more powerful when savored in silence. That's why Stoicism matters now more than ever. When you begin to delay gratification, when you protect your energy instead of spending it on outward display, you reclaim power. You learn that your privacy is peace. Your discretion is armor. You begin asking yourself the kinds of questions that fortify your awareness. What am I truly gaining from posting this right now? Who am I trusting with this information? And have they earned that trust? What would it cost me if the wrong person saw this? That level of self-inquiry. It's a kind of internal security system, one that no technology can replace. It makes you unpredictable. It makes you less visible to predators. And most importantly, it makes you harder to manipulate. So what's the practical wisdom here? Shift your timing. Post that beach photo after you're home. Talk about that favorite hangout once you've already left. Speak of your daily habits only to those who are closest, proven, and loyal. And most crucially, stop equating caution with fear. Caution is not cowardice, it is awareness. It is living with eyes wide open, not to what we wish the world to be, but to what it is. We live in a time where even a joyful post can become a doorway to danger. But when you guard your location, when you refuse to serve your movements on a public platter, you take back control. You transform your life from something publicly consumable into something sacred, something private, something protected, because the most dangerous intruders don't force their way in. They wait for your invitation. And when you share your location in real time, that invitation has already been sent. Privacy is the fortress of the modern age, and the most unshakable walls, they aren't built with fear. They are built with clarity, with intention. So stay aware, stay intentional, stay stoic. Now, let's move forward. Secret number 3. Never share details about your personal security systems, because yes, the walls have ears. And today, those ears often belong to people who have no business knowing anything about your life. Now that we understand the power of privacy over presence, let's turn our focus inward, toward the safety measures we think are protecting us, but might actually be betraying us. In a hyper-connected world where every thought can be posted and every room can be live-streamed, our instinct to share has been rewired by one thing: attention. But attention is a double-edged sword. What seems like a harmless detail, a point of pride, a moment of progress, can quietly become the weakest point in your armor, and one of the most dangerous things people talk about without realizing the risk. Their home security, or worse, the lack of it. It often begins innocently. Someone installs a brand new system, motion sensors, cameras, smart locks. Proud of the upgrade, they post a quick selfie by the keypad, captioned with something like, "Finally got the house secured." But here's what they don't realize. In that moment, they've just revealed their entire defense system to anyone watching with ill intent. Not just the fact that they have security, but the exact kind, possibly the location, and even the value of what they're protecting. They've unintentionally turned their strongest line of protection into an open challenge. Because now anyone with bad intentions knows what they need to bypass, and more importantly, knows there must be something worth stealing. Now, flip the coin. Some people do the opposite. In an attempt to appear modest or relatable, they downplay their setup. "There's nothing to steal in my place," they say at parties or in group chats. "We've never even needed an alarm." It sounds humble, but to a criminal it sounds like a green light, because danger doesn't always seek resistance. It looks for opportunity. And criminals? They're like water. They follow the path of least resistance. They're not after a challenge, they're after an opening. So when you openly admit that you don't have an alarm, a guard dog, or even a neighbor who checks in, that's not a harmless joke. That's an unlocked door. Let me share a story. Greg, an old friend from college, moved into a new home with his wife and young daughter. He loved tech and invested in a top-tier safe to store cash, heirlooms, and a vintage watch from his grandfather. He was proud of his purchase, and he talked about it casually in a Facebook group about home renovation. He even mentioned the brand, the biometric lock, and without thinking joked, "Tucked in the closet behind my suits like a Bond movie." He wasn't showing off, he was just excited. But just a few weeks later, while the family was away, someone broke into their home. Nothing else was touched. Not the TV, not the electronics, just the safe. Gone. It didn't take a professional criminal, just someone patient enough to watch, listen and act, and that's the piece most people miss. Not all threats are impulsive, some are calculated. Some people observe quietly. They build profiles based on the very information we hand out freely, online or in passing conversation. Greg's mistake wasn't buying the safe. It was discussing it publicly, in a space where strangers were paying attention. You see, every time we casually mention the layout of our home, the absence of security, or the value of what's inside, we're not bonding. We're broadcasting, and In a world where information moves faster than consequences, we must ask ourselves, are we guarding our homes, or are we narrating the blueprint? The Stoics would remind us, power lies not in what is said, but in what is held back. Let that silence be your safeguard. Next, we'll explore an even more intimate risk, the danger of revealing personal weaknesses, yours or those of the ones you love. Let's now step into even more delicate territory, beyond locks and walls, into the private corners of your personal life. Because not all threats come through windows. Some slip in through words. We reveal more than we realize. It happens subtly, naturally. A casual video tour of your new home, pausing just long enough to show the remodeled kitchen and, unintentionally, how the bedrooms are tucked quietly away at the back. A light-hearted story at work about where you hide grandma's heirloom jewelry. A passing remark about the firearm under your bed. We do it because it feels normal, relatable, like connection. But what are we really doing? We're handing over a playbook, a blueprint, a roadmap for those who may be quietly observing with less than honorable intentions. Psychologically, this urge comes from something very human, a desire for validation. We want to feel like we've done the right things, taken the right precautions, earned a life that feels safe and secure. We talk about our precautions in the hope that it confirms we're doing well. But real safety is not performative. It is not public. It is private. It is silent. It is sacred. The Stoic philosophers have whispered this truth for centuries. Epictetus once said, "Be silent for the most part. Or if you speak, say only what is necessary, and in few words." This isn't just about holding your tongue in conversation. It's about control, discernment, knowing when to restrain the impulse to share simply because it feels good. Living stoically is not about cold detachment. It's about quiet strength. It means recognizing that praise, envy, even curiosity are not measures of success. And they certainly should not be reasons to share the vulnerable architecture of your life, discussing your security systems, your valuables, your weapons. It doesn't make you clever. It doesn't make you powerful. It makes you vulnerable. Because true strength, it rarely announces itself. A fortress is not powerful because its defenses are visible. It is powerful because they are unknown. So how do you talk about your home without compromising it? Simple, you don't unless absolutely necessary. And if you must, be vague. "I'm covered" is enough. When someone asks what valuables you keep, steer the conversation. Be general. When chatting about home upgrades, mention the result, not the layout. Train yourself to know the difference between what feels good to share and what's wise to protect. Because once the wrong person knows what you have, how it's protected and where it's kept, you've given up the upper hand. In a world where information moves faster than consequence, that single handover can cost more than you ever imagined. Your home is your sanctuary. Not a showroom, treat it that way. Keep your defenses invisible. Keep your possessions sacred and speak less, especially when the urge to speak is strongest. Guard your privacy like the lock on your front door, because in reality, it is. Now, let's move deeper. Secret number 4. Never share personal or family weaknesses. Because while most people think of personal safety in terms of alarms, deadbolts, and situational awareness, there's a far more insidious threat. One that isn't physical, but psychological. It begins the moment you share too much about your vulnerabilities. This threat doesn't crash into your life with a crowbar or a mask. It slips in quietly, disguised as empathy, curiosity, or connection. And by the time you realize what you've given away, the damage is already done, because the damage doesn't always come from what's taken, but from what you unknowingly give away. This risk isn't hypothetical. It's real. It happens quietly, every single day. I remember a story about Jordan, a soft-spoken man in his mid-50s. He had recently gone through chemotherapy. In a show of courage and hope, he shared his journey in a local community group. His intention? To inspire, to connect, to remind others they weren't alone, and people applauded him. They praised his bravery, his openness. But among the applause were eyes that didn't see inspiration. They saw opportunity. Jordan lived alone. He was often fatigued, especially after treatment. One night, someone used that knowledge. They broke into his home while he was asleep, drowsy from painkillers. He never saw who it was. They didn't need to confront him. They already knew he wouldn't be a threat. That's the brutal reality. When you share specific details about your health, your past trauma, your emotional scars, what you're really doing is handing someone the blueprint of how to harm you. And not everyone who listens is listening to help. The desire to open up is deeply human. We all want to feel seen. We all long to be understood. And yes, vulnerability can be beautiful, but only when shared in the right space with the right people. The problem is that most of us have been conditioned to overshare. We've been taught that being open equals being authentic. That exposure equals bravery. That more visibility equals more connection. But public spaces were never meant to hold sacred truths. Whether it's a comment on Facebook, a story you share at a casual gathering, or a raw confession in a TikTok video, far too many people are exposing life details that should have remained protected. And when those details fall into the wrong hands, they don't just inform, they invite exploitation. Think of it this way. Manipulators are not always fueled by malice. They're often fueled by calculation. They are opportunists. They study weakness, not always to hurt for fun, but because it gives them an advantage. Someone who knows you fear confrontation will start to push your boundaries slowly. Someone who hears you live alone and struggle with mobility sees a clear path. Someone who knows your fears, your guilt, your wounds, they now hold tools custom-built to manipulate you. And this kind of harm? It's not general. It's personal. It's precision damage. Even with the best intentions, we sometimes put others in harm's way through our own openness. Mentioning too much about an elderly parent who lives alone, talking casually about your child's after-school routine, revealing that your sibling with a disability is home during the day. These aren't harmless family details. They're vulnerability maps. You might be placing the people you love in danger without even realizing it. But the Stoics, they understood this deeply. They weren't cold. They weren't closed off. They were intentional. Chrypus once said, "The wise man will speak, correctly and with restraint. He will confess not to everyone, but only to those who are suited to hear it." That last part is everything, only to those who are suited to hear it. Because when it comes to your pain, your healing, your inner life, not everyone has earned the right to witness it, and not everyone should. Real power, the Stoics taught, is not just in what you say, but in what you choose to withhold. That phrase, "only to those who are suited to hear it," is a principle that echoes with timeless wisdom. Stoic philosophy doesn't tell us to live in fear. It tells us to live in awareness, to speak with precision, not paranoia, to understand that not every truth belongs in the public square. Some truths are meant to be processed quietly, within ourselves or with trusted counsel, not with strangers, not with algorithms, not with the internet. To live stoically is not to isolate yourself. It's not to build walls so high that no one can see you. It's to discern. It's to choose carefully. It's to understand that self-protection is not a weakness. It is wisdom. It's strength in silence because your vulnerability, it's sacred. And in the wrong hands, it becomes a weapon. So if you've experienced trauma, if you're living with health challenges, if you're healing from heartbreak or hardship, choose wisely who you tell and how you tell them. Use private channels. Seek professional support. Speak with those who've earned your trust, not those who merely follow your account. And when you're in public, keep things general. You don't owe the world your wounds. You don't have to explain your struggles to people who haven't proven they're safe. And if you feel that strong urge to share, pause and ask, is this for connection or for visibility? Do I need someone to say I get it, or am I trying to feel seen? Because sometimes what we truly want is validation. And while that's human, it's not always worth the cost. Validation is never worth surrendering your emotional safety. You can heal without broadcasting. You can connect without overexposing. You can be strong without being seen. Take a moment and reflect. Have you ever shared something deeply personal only to wish you hadn't? Has your openness ever been used against you? If so, you're not alone. And if you feel ready, share your story in the comments. You never know who it might help, because in the end your safety doesn't just depend on what you can fight off. It depends on what you never allow in. Your strongest armor might not be your resilience. It might be your silence. Now, let's move to our fifth and final secret. Do not share information that can be used for identity theft. When was the last time you truly stopped and reflected on what you've shared online? I'm not talking about passwords or banking info. I'm talking about the little things. The throwback post about your childhood dog. The comment where you casually mention your mother's maiden name during a family story. That photo where you joke about the street you grew up on. These details feel small, harmless, even sweet. But in the hands of someone with bad intentions, they're not details. They're data points. And together they form a map, straight to your identity. Every piece of personal information you share online is like a puzzle piece. One on its own? Fine. But a determined person, someone with patience and access, can collect enough fragments across your posts, tags, bios, and comments to reconstruct a version of you. Not a story about your life. A profile that can be used to impersonate you, hack you, exploit you, even ruin you. And here's the harsh truth. Most of that data you gave it away, freely, not because you were reckless, but because you were told that sharing is connecting, that openness is authenticity. It isn't. Not always. Not anymore. Favorite band? Pearl Jam. First pet's name? Lucky. Hometown? Dayton, Ohio. Melissa, a young, vibrant teacher, answered them, all without hesitation, in an Instagram story titled Fun Facts About Me. She followed it with a nostalgic post about her first car, a silver Toyota Corolla, and even uploaded her high school graduation photo, school name clearly visible. What she didn't realize was this. She had just publicly answered almost every standard security question used to protect her email, her banking app, and her shopping accounts. A few days later, her inbox began to flood. Password reset alerts, suspicious login attempts, credit card flagged, locked out of multiple platforms. Her digital life unraveled before her eyes. It took weeks and the help of a cybersecurity expert to piece her world back together. But what stung most wasn't the inconvenience. It was the betrayal she felt, not by a stranger, not even by a hacker, but by the systems she thought were safe, by her own willingness to share. One cheerful post at a time, she had surrendered her privacy. This is how modern identity theft works. It's not the movie cliché, a hooded figure furiously typing in a dark basement. It's someone quietly watching, casually collecting, slowly assembling the breadcrumbs we scatter online. They don't break in. We leave the door open, and they walk right through. And what makes it even more chilling is this. When those pieces are combined, they become dangerous. Your birth month from a comment on Facebook. Your high school mascot from a yearbook photo. Her playful tweet about being class of 2007. a tagged photo of your brother with your shared last name. Individually, they seem meaningless, but together, they narrow down your age, your family network, your location. In many cases, that's enough to reconstruct partial social security numbers, to guess usernames, to launch phishing scams that mirror your bank so perfectly, you'll click without hesitation. This is where Stoic thinking becomes more than a philosophy. It becomes a digital survival skill. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That clarity, it applies online too. Stoicism teaches us self-discipline, to control what we can and release what we cannot. You can't control what others might do with your data, but you can control what you choose to share. You can pause before you post. You can opt for silence over impulse. Ask yourself, who benefits from this information? Who might misuse it? Would I still share this if I imagined it in the hands of a stranger with bad intentions? That kind of restraint? That's Stoicism in the digital age. It's treating your data the way you treat your physical body, with respect, with clear boundaries, and with the understanding that exposure has consequences. You don't owe anyone your full story, especially not the faceless, ever-watching audience of the internet. You can live fully without laying yourself bare. You can build real connection without giving away the blueprint to your identity. So what do you do now? You don't become paranoid. You become precise. Use false answers for your security questions, ones only you know. Don't post about which apps you use for banking, investing, or shopping. Audit your online presence regularly. Review old posts. Delete what no longer needs to live in the public eye. Tighten your privacy settings, like you would reinforce the lock on your front door. Make it difficult, very difficult, for strangers to construct a version of you that you never consented to share. You wouldn't think twice about locking your home. Your digital life deserves the same vigilance. Melissa didn't get hacked because she was foolish. She got hacked because she lived in a system that rewards oversharing and punishes discretion. But we don't have to play by that system's rules. We can choose silence, especially when it matters most. We can protect the little things, the details that seem too minor until it's too late. Now think about yourself. Have you ever shared something online only to realize later it was too personal? Have you clicked on a quiz or posted a memory without fully considering what it revealed? If so, you're not alone. Share your experience in the comments. Your story might become someone else's turning point, because sometimes the warning people need isn't found in a headline. It's in someone's honest hindsight. And if this message resonated, don't stop here. There's a lot more to uncover. Tap the suggested video on your screen right now. It's filled with practical strategies that build on everything we've discussed, because in today's world, information is power. And the wisest thing you can do is guard what you know and keep the rest to yourself. That's not fear. That's survival. That's Stoicism in action. And if you've stayed with me until now, you already know you're not just watching a video. You're waking up. These 5 secrets, they're not just tips. They're your firewall. In a world that's always watching, always listening, always waiting for one misstep, they are your defense. You don't need to live in fear, but you do need to live smart, because protecting your life begins by protecting your information. So here's your next move. Subscribe to Stoic Havenway, stay close, stay aware, and I'll keep revealing what others overlook. If this opened your eyes, share it. Someone you care about might need it more than you realize. Your safety is your responsibility, but you don't have to face it alone. Let's keep building your defenses together. From my heart to yours, thank you for watching. The Stoic Havenway.